No, Dave. Dave.
What?
Hold on a second. Pause your thing.
Okay.
Pause your thing. Pause your thing.
Okay. So we get our ground wires twisted together, make sure they're even on the end. Now we're going to hook this outlet up in series, so we're going to straighten our wires out here. And we're going to keep our ground down the bottom. You always strip your wire with the size that matches the whole wire we're stripping. Here in the country I was born in, we use 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps, 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps. And I'm stripping our wires, so we have about an inch here to put wires around the screws. Okay, so the black goes on the brass screw, which is the narrow slot. The white goes on the silver screw, which is the wider slot. And the ground, of course, goes on the green screw. So we'll hook our white wires up first. And our ground, so we're going to make our loop a little bit bigger here. ground wire around our green screw like that. Make sure it's nice and tight. Put our white wires around the silver colored screw. Working with used wire is just a little bit harder, but okay, so we put it around the screw the direction our screw turns like that. And make sure I don't get our insulation caught under our screw head here. I push back with my fingers here. Make sure it's nice and tight. Our copper's under the screw head all the way around. Get around the screw the direction our screw turns. Make sure they're both nice and tight like that there. Now we'll flip it around. We'll get our black wires over here on our brass colored screws. So we'll clip this just a little bit shorter because I stripped it a little long. Take a bit more off here. I'll close this one so I can get my, oh, I can't take it off. There it is. Make sure we don't get our insulation under the screw head. It's nice and tight, and that's what we want. Okay, we have a good solid connection here. Now we can push our wires into our box. We'll go up and down with our black and white. And we'll keep our ground wire down here at the bottom, and we'll go across to keep it down like this. And we'll push this into our box. Get our screw gun here. Make sure our ground wire is down away from everything here. I'll just finish it by hand so I don't strip my holes out. So we got it all done. Let's see if we can get a staple up here somewhere. staple back in here somewhere. Make sure it's not too tight, it's not pinching the wire. Alright, so we're all set. This wire into our wall up here. That will be long enough to go from here to here. I'll bring it up so you can see where I'm putting it through the studs here. We have holes up here. But if we can't, we can't. If we can't, we won't. But if we can, we will. There it goes. We got our hole up here. This is the one that goes to our switch. We have a glove here. There we are. Gotta get a staple within about a foot of your box here. Okay, now we gotta get a wire in on this side over here. We'll bring it down to our box. Got to make sure your holes and your staples are all back at least 1.25 inches so they don't get hit with nails and sheetrock screws. Alright, so I'll cut a piece of scrap wire here. Now with this outlet we're going to do what's called a parallel wiring. Okay, so we'll get our blacks and whites up out of our way here. And we'll get our ground wires all together here. So we're going to cut them so they're all even on the bottom here. Put our wire nut on. Now I hold the tail here so it doesn't get uneven inside our wire nut. This is a deeper box, so we have more room. Okay, so we'll push this ground wire back, get all into the back of our box here, and we'll keep our ground wire zigzagged across the bottom there. Okay, we'll get our whites together here. Okay, so we'll strip with our number 12 hole. Okay, so we'll get our insulation even at the bottom here. Get our first two started like this. Get our third one in here. Get our insulation even at the bottom here. Bring our fourth one in. Get our insulation even at the top here. We'll just wrap it in so it goes in nice and evenly here. I'll cut it off here on the ends while our wires are nice and even. All four of our wires are even on the end here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll stick our wire nut on. Make sure insulation goes into the bottom of the wire nut there. And I'll hold the tail again so it doesn't make sure it's nice and tight. Now I can push this back into our box, get it back out of our way here. Okay, now we're ready to do our black wires. Get our tail wire to go to our outlet here. Okay, so we'll get our insulation even at the bottom here. Get our first two started, get our third one. Get our insulation even at the bottom here. Okay, oh, that one moved. I'm going to take it out. Sometimes you just have to go back to ground zero and start over again. There we go. There, they're even the way I want them. Our third one in. Insulation even at the bottom here. There we go. Now we'll get our fourth one in here. Get our insulation even at the bottom. Twist it in so it goes in evenly with the other wires. Gotta move it back a little bit here so it's even down at the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna clip them so they're all even with the shortest one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're even. I'll take my wire nut. I'm gonna make sure insulation goes into the bottom of the wire cap here. Now, one of these wires is an older insulation and it's thicker, but it's not very old. It's maybe 10 years old or so. So the insulation's a little different on the one wire. So we're going to make sure we get our wires nice and tight into this wire nut. Okay, now we can push it back into our box here. Okay, so we'll go back as far as we can get it here. Okay, now we'll hook our device up. We'll close the screws we're not using. Oops, we're going to use our ground screw. We're going to close one silver screw. Now this is called a parallel wiring. Close that one. We'll close this one. Okay, we'll take off about an inch here. Okay, we'll start with our white and our ground wire. I want to make sure I get the copper under our screw head all the way around there. It didn't go under all the way around, so I'm going to loosen it up a little bit. Take my needle nose, close it a little bit better here. There we go, that's what we want. Now we'll put our white wire under our silver screw. Close it the direction our screw turns. There we go, that's what we want, like that right there. Okay, we'll bring it over. Now we're going to keep this ground wire zigzagging across the bottom. So I'm going to bring it over this way, bring it over this way, and bring it over this way on the bottom. With our black, we're here on our brass colored screw. I'm going to take just a smidgen off here. It's a little long. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to break these little tabbies off here because they're putting up the wood. They're putting wood on the wall. That's why I have this box out further. Okay, now we can push this into our box, keeping our ground wire down on the bottom here. White wire over on the other side here. There we go. Our ground is staying down away from everything. I'll finish it by hand so we don't strip our holes out. Now make sure our ground wire is down away from everything. Alrighty, so that is how to wire outlets here in the country I was born in parallel and in series. We use a 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps, 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps. Black is live, white is neutral, the bare or the green is the ground. Red and blue are also live colors. However, you may find white live in a switch loop or a 240 volt circuit where the appliance does not require a neutral. Peace. Thanks for watching.